Hey there, how's it going? This is Keith at Custom Works, and this is kind of a first video in a series of videos that we're going to do, kind of spotlighting a lot of the products that we sell. First one off, we're going to talk about coilovers today. And this is a typical coilover where the shock and the spring are all in one unit. And the benefit to this is obviously right off the bat, your ride height adjustment, okay? By turning these collars up or down, you can change the ride height of your vehicle, which is super cool. Now, one thing you gotta keep in mind is you only have so much travel in the shock. So ultimately, at ride height, you kind of want your shock to be centered in its travel. So this is a typical coilover setup. Now, Viking has a really cool setup. And at first we were really not sold on this being a really good option for a couple of reasons. It's not really a true coilover. It's kind of a hybrid coilover. And the way this system works is it uses a spring that is big on the top and small on the bottom. And the reason why it's big on the top is this actually fits in your frame like your stock coil spring does, okay? And the small end goes on the coilover shock. And the shock that's in the kit has a stud mount just like your factory shock, okay? So the beauty of this thing is it literally just bolts in place of what you've got. So you got coilover shock, and then you've got your conventional spring at the top. This will fit in the frame bucket, and then it's a different shock, but it has a stud that comes out the top, mounts where your shock does. And at first we were a little leery because the problem with the factory setup is this hole for the shock isn't in the center of this spring, so it actually kind of cocks the spring kind of crooked. And what ultimately happens is you side load the mounting point of the shock. And early on, when companies were making this kind of hybrid setup, QA1 and some other companies out there, and even Viking will sell this thing with a polyurethane bushing in it. We will not sell this with a polyurethane bushing in it because with the side loading, you just blow the bushing out and it fails. So when Viking came up with an upgraded one with a spherical bearing in it, that's when we decided to give it a shot. And I've been using one on my daily driver for probably about 6 or 7 years now and haven't any problem. So what you do is you have a mount that looks like a T-bar that looks just like your factory shock. And right here, we've got a factory control arm. And you can use these with factory control arms or aftermarket control arms. And as you can see here, here's where the spring usually mounts, and here's where the shock mounts off to the side. So when you put the coilover in here, the spring and the shock really aren't necessarily centered on each other. Now on the lower part it doesn't matter because now the spring is mounted in the center of the shock regardless. So anyways, instead of mounting the shock up from the bottom, the coilover shock, now you're going to mount it on top. Okay? And what that's going to do is that's going to help the load, so you're not, the bolts aren't in tension. And so one of the things else that we also did was we came up with this plate here, and this is a reinforcement plate that we use when we're doing coilovers. And what it does is it goes in either an aftermarket control arm, and especially the stock control arm, it goes inside here, and what it does is it helps spread the load. Instead of just being on these two little points here, it spreads the load all the way around this entire area here. If you just bolted it to here, there's a chance that the lower control arm would fail. And if it failed, the car would fall basically to the ground. So anyway, so we've addressed all the issues and we've had good luck. Like I said, I probably have 50,000 miles on my coilover setup in my car and haven't really had any issues with it. So one of the things that we did was we designed a series of brackets and some minor modifications. You need to modify your upper control arm mount where the shock comes through. You need to cut an area of that away. And then we made a bracket that basically goes and mounts in place there, welds in. This is our Welding coilover kit. And what this really, the benefits of this really does is it puts your shock in better geometry, so there is no side loading of it. And the nice thing is when you use a conventional coilover versus the hybrid coilover, your springs and your spring rate I mean, the springs are available in 25-pound increments, whereas these springs are really available like 350, 450, 550, and I think now we've got 650-pound springs in it. So using our Welding kit does have some advantages to it from a performance standpoint and probably a durability standpoint as well. So that's another option out there. So there's two options really. One of the best things that is really underrated on this, you know, you've got the advantage of it being ride height adjustable, getting your ride height exactly where you want it, which is great. That is a wonderful thing to have. But having a double adjustable shock is really key to handling driving performance and ride quality as well. We have another video that kind of shows that, you know, your springs don't really dictate how rough your car rides. It's really your shocks. And really having your compression and your rebound, this is the compression, this is the rebound, independently adjustable, you can really fine tune your ride quality and the performance of your car. So generally speaking, just generally speaking, as you go higher on the spring rate, stiffer on the springs, you need less compression dampening, but you need more rebound adjustment. So if you were to just buy a shock that was just a single adjustable, some of the single adjustables are only rebound adjustable, okay? Some of them are rebound and compression adjustable. And there's not really a lot of scenarios where you'd want a shock where you'd be adjusting the compression and the rebound the same amount, okay? So generally speaking, in performance cars, the stuff that we generally do, we're actually going to see more clicks on the rebound than we are on the compression, okay? And when you buy this stuff from us, we'll give you a setup sheet, kind of gives you an idea of where to set the shock settings. And most of the cars we build here, we send them out with the same settings that we always send them to pretty much. And it really yields a nice ride quality and really good performance. So super cool. The last, and this is pretty significant, the last advantage really of going with a coilover setup versus a conventional coil spring and shock is installation. I don't know if you guys have ever installed a conventional spring in the front end, but man, it's a pain. I mean, you gotta get it up into the pocket, you know, and then you gotta get it, you know, into the lower spring bucket and get it indexed right, and you're in there with, you know, pry bars, or God forbid using a spring compressor, which is kind of a pain in the ass to get it apart and back out. When you do the coilover, man, you just adjust these adjusters all the way down, you shove this thing in there, you bolt up your ball joints, and then you get there with your spanner wrenches and you just start tightening this thing up, you know, and putting it on the ground and seeing where it settles out and adjusting from there to get your ride height done. So it really, installation is a lot easier too. So a lot of times we have customers, we're building their car, they say, hey, look, I don't want to spend the money on coilovers, until I tell them, you know, really the three main benefits: the ride height, the adjustable ride quality in it, tuning ability basically of your shocks, and then the money they're going to save on installation. Okay, so generally speaking, my time is their money. So if you're doing it in your garage, you don't have to worry about spring flying out and tearing out your teeth or smashing your fingers or doing whatever. So those are the primary benefits of going with a coilover. We use Viking. We like Viking. We've had a really good relationship with Viking. Over the years, we've sold hundreds of their shocks, and I can only think of a couple of instances where we've had to even warranty a shock for any reason. And so that's amazing, truly amazing. They're priced right, and again, the three benefits of coilovers is well worth the money. So anyway, so we'll walk you through while we got you here. Here's the Custom Works Camaro. It is in the shop. We've cleared out all the long-term projects out of the shop, and this thing's coming apart here really quick. And if you watched any of our other videos, this is our subframe that I built. It's a highly modified stock subframe, and we will be able to fit 315s on the front. And we were able to modify the mounts. Basically, in essence, we kind of mini tubbed it, so the frames have been narrowed. Lower control arms, upper control arms are narrower to get full turning radius. And again, we've got our Viking coilovers on here, and that's what we run. They work great. Had great success with them, and the adjustability is awesome. The valving is perfect, and we have different shock valving options. There's more of a touring, a race mode, and then there's an extreme kind of race mode. So anyways, really we can tailor the springs and the shocks to what you're going to want to use. So anyways, thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe, click the bell, I don't know, whatever. So anyways, thanks for watching. Have a good day.